Am I still audible? Excellent. Um, so I came here today to talk to you about Microsoft's cloud offering. How many people are kind of surprised that there's a Microsoft guy at a CakePHP event? Yeah, that's my next line. Keep your hands up. Who uses a Mac? I don't know. It always surprises people. My name's Cory Fowler. Basically, what I want to show off today is a couple of different things regarding Microsoft's cloud platform. Me, myself, I work on the Azure App Service offering, which is a PaaS model as well. So a lot of the things that Steve said also apply in this environment. We have a different way of looking at things, obviously, and we actually have two different PaaS offerings. I'm just going to focus on the one that's super easy for developers to get running on. So, as everyone said, it's kind of weird to see a Microsoft person at an open source event. I really hope that after this you don't think that. I think, I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've been touring around, talking to people, and been writing a lot of open source code. And one of the things I want to show you is the shift that Microsoft is currently under in terms of changing perception and changing the way that we've done things in the past. And a lot of that is being able to start moving a lot of our stuff across different platforms. So we're actually building out on Android and iOS, and you have the ability to use your skills in a whole bunch of varieties of different areas with the technologies we use. One of the other things is we open source .NET, pretty much the entire stack so far. We have a free version of Visual Studio. A lot of these things in the past cost lots of money. The ability to run .NET on Linux now, which is crazy. We've been going and really trying to move and kind of shift what we've done in the past. We've also been working with Google on the Kubernetes project. So if you do infrastructure as a service and you're using Docker, you can go and use Kubernetes in Azure itself. And then the other thing I think is pretty exciting, and I actually have been using this a little bit, is we now have a cross-platform code editor, a nice little integrated system that you can run on a Mac, in Linux, or on Windows. So you can see right here I have Visual Studio Code. I can go in and there's full PHP, well, I can't say 100% full PHP IntelliSense, but there's a lot of support here for doing the development that you do. And there's also Git integration as well, so you can see all the different changes that you've gone in and done, and you have the ability to go and support that. So this is kind of an exciting shift for me. It was one of the reasons I joined Microsoft, is I wanted to see a lot of things start to move in open source directions, and to my surprise, right after I joined, there's a major shift that has already begun. So that was the quick demo of Visual Studio Code. I also wanted to kind of highlight a couple of things that are going on within Microsoft with open source. So about 20%, and this is a kind of old number. I didn't have the time to collect the new number. I'm assuming it's probably higher, but about 20% of our workloads in Azure is actually running Linux. We have 4 different distributions available. You can go out and use basically anything you want to. We have OpenSUSE, Ubuntu, SUSE Enterprise, and CentOS available. We've also been contributing to a lot of projects as part of our work to go and build out the platform that we have. So we've been committing code to the Hadoop project, like I said earlier, Kubernetes. Just there's a lot of momentum going on where Microsoft developers are actually focused on working on open source projects. And I think that's really exciting. To me, it's really exciting anyways. So I just wanted to give you a quick primer on Microsoft Azure. Has anyone used Azure in the past? That's not too bad. We got about 10 hands up. For those of you that don't know, well, this is the slide that it basically tries to tell you that we're not just a puppet anymore. We're actually a real human being. So you can go out. There's lots of customers using us. It does actually show that we do have the ability to go out and scale out workloads. We have a lot of different things available. Like I said, we have 2 different PaaS offerings. The one I'm going to talk about is the one on the far, what's that, are you on, right? And then cloud service is another PaaS offering that allows you, like Steve said, most PaaS offerings are black box and you don't really get to go and install anything. In cloud services, you do have the ability to do a little bit of administrative tasks, but for the most part, you should be focusing on your application and the data that you're storing as opposed to doing sysadmin work. But a lot of people today are using virtual machines, and then there's a lot of supporting services as well. So we have table storage to be able to push out static assets. We're actually running Redis as a service, so you have the ability to use Redis. And lots of other great things. I know it's really small here, but I'll send you over to the website so you can kind of take a look. And we do this across the world. So we actually have 21 regions that we have online today, and we're bringing more on basically all the time. It seems like every time I do a talk, I have to add a new dot to this slide. So many of you, this is how you work today, or this is how people learn how to go out and do things in the cloud in the workshop. As you go out, you get Vagrant, you might install some plugins, be it AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean, and then you go and you Vagrant up. So I actually do have a demo that I've run beforehand because I know the internet can be a little bit tricky. So this is my Vagrant file. Basically, I've gone in here, and it is kind of a little bit Azure specific in some places, as most kind of third-party providers are. But basically what you do is you go out, grab a certificate. The management endpoint you don't need to have there, but I always put it there to remind myself that we do have some environments in different areas that do have different management endpoints, so you have the ability to go and update that. You put a username and password, and yes, my password's in clear text because that's how I roll. So you could actually go and log into this box right now, and basically once you have that available, you can Vagrant SSH, and you'll actually get out to that machine. So pretty interesting. I ran it so I could show you this, which is basically we have the ability to do everything. This is actually running one of the Linux distributions that we have available. It goes out, it starts up an actual machine in the cloud. And I just wanted to show you what it kind of looks like from a management perspective. So in here, we actually have the full-fledged virtual machine up and running. You can see your CPU. Obviously, I haven't really been doing anything on the box. Lots of different monitoring capabilities. You can go and spin up to a different size of VM once you get things going. But we kind of selected a standard instance from our Vagrant environment beforehand. So that's what you're doing today. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but you might have signed up for a little bit more than you're expecting. Right? You bring up a VM, you do have a lot of administrative tasks that you have to do. Me as a developer, I'd rather just focus on my code and get all that working. So that's where Azure App Service comes in, and basically it's a full integrated offering. So you have the ability to go host websites, mobile, these things called logic apps that bring workflow into your environment, and then API apps. And the cool thing about API apps is, has anyone heard of Swagger? Unfortunately, I don't have any swag. So Swagger is it's a way to kind of describe your APIs. And the cool thing about that is if you go and you have an API that you do add Swagger support to, we have a code generator that will go and code generate clients in a lot of popular languages, so .NET, Java, which basically saves you a lot of time needing to build out those clients to support your application. You can just get people to go and run the generator, and you have the ability to do that yourself. So I focus on Azure Web App. Like I said, I'm the program manager for the PHP stack, so if you do go out and use the platform, I'll bring my email address back up again later. Ping me, let me know what's working for you, what's not. I'm here to fix it. Provided there's actually something broken, which... lots of great features on the platform. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. Web Jobs, which provides a nice cron service running in the background that you can run with your site or alongside of it in another site to try and bring down the actual CPU and memory usage on that same machine. WebSocket support. Sticky sessions by default, which is important because if you start scaling out to multiple machines, a lot of applications aren't designed to handle, to be stateless, so you actually can go and route to different machines and not have things like sessions sitting on the box. We have an app gallery that I'm going to go and show you in a little bit, which allows you to bootstrap application development straight out. So we have like things like WordPress, Drupal. We have a CakePHP gallery item. Right now it's 2x. We're working on getting 3 in there as well. And then there's a lot of great features that make development a lot easier, or that whole process of shifting into a production server. So we have this thing called site slots, which allows you to go out, build multiple environments, and then swap your code between them to promote them up the chain. So this is basically how things work. We're all developers. We're going out, we're building code in whatever kind of editor we want. You have the ability to use the tools that you have today. We support .NET, Node.js, PHP, Python, Java. So lots of great languages. You can run pretty much all of them at the same time, with the exception of Java. That kind of gets split off a little bit. And I usually run through an app, or a demo of all of them, but with the limited amount of time I have, I'm going to focus on the CakePHP and the gallery piece. So we have this amazing portal that we run, and if you actually want to go and try things out while you're sitting there, I'm a kind of person that likes to play around with things as I'm listening to someone talk, because it makes me remember. If you go out to try.azurewebsites.net, you can actually go pick web app, grab, say, a starter PHP account, and without a credit card, you can go out and create an actual app, as long as you have either a Facebook account, a Gmail account, which we found out a lot of people had earlier, or a Microsoft account. You just go, sign in, you get that box for an hour, you get a Git URL, you can deploy stuff to it, try it out, do whatever you want to do. So like I said, we have this fancy new portal, and what I want to do is show you one of my favorite tricks, and a little Easter egg, is if I double click on the background here, I can actually change the color of it. Ooh. Not the best feature of the portal by far. So basically what you can do is go in here and hit the new button, and we can go and create a web or mobile app. And you have this great list of all of the different things that you can do on your own. Like you can see here, we have the ability to install some other platforms. I'm just going to go and hit the Azure Marketplace at the bottom. And this opens up a huge list of things that we can do. So you'll notice right here, CakePHP is one of the supported app frameworks. You just go and click on that, and it'll actually bootstrap the whole creation process of a CakePHP application. Like I mentioned, right now it's 2x, but we go out, we can create the web app itself, which is going to host your code. We create a database for you. Because we're setting this all up for you, we want you to be ready to go as soon as you get all of this set up. So we actually inject the connection string into your environment and all the configuration files for you. So once you have this, you can go out, git clone, and be ready to start working and pushing back to this environment.
Can you go back to where you got this cake at?
Yep. So this is actually one of the other cool features of the portal. You'll notice here that my whole path is saved for me. So as long as I get back here, I have the Azure Marketplace at the very bottom. That opens up basically any kind of marketplace item I want. And then I scroll down in the list, and you can see right under Web App Frameworks, there's CakePHP. Nice little blurb of text, and then you can go out and create one of your own. Cool. So this is the fancy new portal. There are still some pieces of functionality in our classic portal. It still does the trick. It's really, really interesting to kind of go through between the two of them. I'm hoping we start to migrate a lot more stuff to this one because it's really fancy and you can actually pin things through it. But with the magic of television, try and keep things simple, I actually went and created a site earlier so you can kind of see what's going on within the application itself. So you can see right here I have monitoring tools available to me so I can see my HTTP requests, the number of errors that are going on, the usage of my file system, and this portal is actually created with a whole bunch of open source projects as well. So we're using D3.js to bring some of the nice visualization of all these pieces together. We use Knockout.js to do data binding across the platform. And you can see here that I have Git deployment already hooked up. So I just go out and I can do a Git push directly to my environment. My last deployment failed, unfortunately. What I talked about earlier was those development slots, and this is how you can go and set up your production environment, a QA slot, development. Each of those are an individual environment, so you can set up different code paths for each one of them. So I can say here, I have my local Git, so this might be my development environment where I want to push out. I could go into my other slot and set up GitHub integration, which will do continuous deployment for me. I can actually overwrite the deployment steps to do continuous integration and run my PHP unit tests, or maybe some UI tests for me as well. And we won't actually promote the new piece of code into production unless all of those tests pass. So we will fail it out. Your live site will still stay in the current way it is, and you're good to go. A couple of other things. There was a great talk yesterday, and I'm sorry I forget the gentleman's name, that was talking about how you can actually move between these different environments. I kind of work in the way of creating environment variables, and that's how the platform works as well. So you have this thing called app settings, which you can go, and it's basically a key value pair. Go and provide database connection strings, maybe environment specific configurations, put them all in here, and then you just use getinf to go and pull them into your code base. A couple of the other things I want to show off. We have this new integration with Zenzire. So I know Mark's been working on getting a plugin for CakePHP. Provides some great tooling to be able to go and diagnose issues that are going on your site. If you go and set up those different environment slots, you can go out here, and we actually have the ability to do traffic routing. So what you can do is, this allows you to kind of route some of the traffic that's coming into your production server off to, say, a staging site that has the next version of your application. And you can move maybe 5% of the traffic, get a couple of live customers testing out your next version, so you understand how it's going to react when you actually roll that out in production. Really great feature. Lots of use cases that you can go and implement with that. One of my favorite pieces is, especially as a developer, is I have the ability to go out and extend this environment. So today we don't actually support Composer as a first-party thing. It's something I'm working on. So I've done the first step for me. You can create site extensions, and these site extensions are extensibility points within the platform. So you can go, you can install things, you can, at a limited scale, you can go and tie things into the IIS process. Yes, I said IIS. That's how it works today. But it allows you to do a number of things. So we have Visual Studio Online, which gives you a code editor. PHP so if you want access into your database, you can install this. You can go out and use PHP in MyAdmin. We have a PHP manager, which is basically going to be a great starting point for anyone running PHP on the platform. I'm looking to extend this quite drastically. For the WordPress folks, I created an extension called WordPress CLI, which brings CLI support. And then my personal favorite, which I already have installed, is I brought Composer to the platform by creating a site extension. So if I was to go and say, go into my console here, I could actually go and run Composer right on my machine in the cloud. Now, if you don't want to use the web-based console, we can actually go in and use kudu exec, which is a piece of code that basically emulates SSH into the box, and I can run the exact same thing as long as I spell it correctly from my local machine. There we go. So straight from terminal on my local machine, I've connected out into this PaaS instance, and I'm able to go and run any kind of code I want to. We have Git on the machine. You can use curl. You can use a lot of different things, but we're basically trying to enable you to be as productive as you can be with the tools that you already use today. So just to visualize a couple of these concepts, we have the staging slots, and basically that is going and attaching additional environments to your production slot that you have by default. What that does is it lights up a brand new environment for you. You can push that code out there. In standard mode, you can have up to 5 environments. If you go to premium, you get up to 20. So you could potentially use this as like a developer environment where you connect it straight out to the cloud, and you can go and deploy. Everyone can have their own environment and go use this code. If not, you can use it however you want to. Now the cool thing is, you have all these environments, and you can go and push code in with continuous delivery, continuous integration. We also go one step further and allow you to do a swap of these environments. So you can go into the portal, hit the swap, or do it from the command line using our tools. And basically what it'll do is a DNS swap between the environment that you have, or your production environment, and whatever environment you actually want to promote into the production slot. This is where those app settings come in handy, because you can actually mark them as sticky, which stays with that environment. So your production database will stay sticky to the whatever gets promoted to the production slot, so on and so forth. So having those environment settings and keeping track of your different environments using those enables a lot of different benefits that you get from our PaaS platform. I mentioned the testing and production, which is called traffic routing in the portal. And this is what you can do is go and route stuff to another slot that you have available to you. In this case, it's 20% of your traffic. If anything were to go wrong, we'll take that route out there and push everything 100% back to your production slot. This is the kind of code flow that we expect the majority of people are using. So you have lots of developers cranking away at code, use some sort of source control to go and push your stuff out there. This box here is actually Dropbox. You can use it, YOLO, but you might want to stick with Bitbucket, GitHub, or some other provider. We do also have FTP and SFTP support if you so choose, but I would suggest the path of using some sort of source control. We allow you to hook into the build, as I mentioned earlier. Then we can deploy out into a slot, test out our code, swap that into production. Once we have everything out there, people are coming to our site using it. We can get lots of great analytics using what's provided by default. We also have this app insight service that gets added for free that you can hook into for additional analytics as well. And unfortunately right now, New Relic doesn't work on our platform for PHP because their PHP plugin only works on Linux, but we're trying to work with them to enable that support as well. WebJobs is the background cron service I mentioned before. That allows you to interact with anything that you want to do. It's as simple as writing a shell script, a PHP script, could be anything. Like we run Python, Java. As long as it's supported on the platform, you can write it and it will execute. So what I'm doing here is just going out, could be pulling some items off of a queue, because I'm using queuing to kind of separate some processes that I don't want to have going on during my request. Or I could be doing a task like cleaning up the database or something along those lines. You can schedule these tasks, you can run them continuously, or you can trigger them with an API. So lots of great ways to go out and take advantage of WebJobs. Once you have that environment up and running, now on the free version, no ability to scale. But if you move up to basic, standard, or premium, we provide you with your own virtual machine and a couple different methods to go and scale out your app. If you're on basic, we give you 3 instances that you can scale to, and you can scale manually by sliding a slider in the portal. If you move up to standard or premium, we give you 10 instances in standard, 20 instances in premium, and you can go and set up auto-scale rules. So you can go and meter your CPU, memory, number of requests coming in here, and based on those meters, we'll spin up servers automatically for you, and we do the load balancing for you as well by default. Like I said, we also have sticky sessions by default, so you don't have to worry about using session, there is a small caveat to that, is still the cloud. So if one of those machines were to go down, the session is only on that one individual machine in memory. So if they do get routed to a different server, they're not going to have that state there. So good thing to kind of think about how you architect all these different pieces. So if you are working in an environment where you do scale out to an entire screen of servers like this one, you do have the ability to service your customers off of any one of these boxes. If you do start to see a reduction in traffic, we will scale all those instances back down for you, because we basically have a low end and a high end meter. So once it starts to hit the low end, we'll start to pull down the servers, so you're not paying for them anymore. And that's basically what I had to kind of go through. I do have one additional slide that I do want to show, and it's kind of the architecture of how we do things. So a lot of this stuff is instantaneous, and unfortunately I don't trust the Wi-Fi enough to go out and do this right away, but you get a server up and running basically within 3 seconds. If you go through the create, you type in everything, as soon as you hit create, it spins there for a couple seconds and you have a new server up and running. When you scale, it comes up quickly as well. And the reason for this is we have a lot of instances that are sitting up in a warm state, and when you need a new instance for your machine, what we do is we go and we hook in a network-based drive to be able to scale out the code that you have going on. So, there's a process for OpenShift that they're doing rsync. We just hook in your new machine on a drive that's already there and ready to go. So we don't have to worry about file transfer and everything along those lines. We do also have a couple of different ways that you can go and scale your application or talk to your application. The publishing endpoint, this is what provides the FTP support. Our front-end servers, and this is important. If you do go out and use these, so the way we manage memory so you can try and fit as many websites on a single VM as possible is if we notice that your site's not active, we'll put it into what we call a cold state. So we actually pull all the resources out of memory, shut down your site, and then that frees up additional memory for any other applications that you have running. Now this is important because it does take a couple seconds to spin those back up when you do get a request. So if you are running a production server or something along those lines, there is a setting in the portal here. Wrong one. Called Always On, which will basically turn off that cold site monitoring, and it will allow you to just keep that production application up and running at all times. So it's very important. Back to the slides. There we go. And then the last part of that is actually going and hitting our API endpoint, which is basically what we use if you do want to go and hit the API yourself, or if you just use the command line tools. So I'm just going to exit out of here. We have a whole bunch of tools where you can just say Azure Site -H, and Azure Site, and there's a whole bunch of different tasks that you can do against the API. So you can go turn the site on or off, download a deployment script, that's the hook into our deployment engine, delete your site, add app settings. So if you do want to automate some of these tasks to go out and set up environments in different regions, you can create one script and run it across different locations. And that's basically what I had to show. I have just under 2 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes.
Scale up or down? How do sessions, like if sessions are sticky and you auto scale up, do sessions get reallocated to the new nodes, and when you scale down, do they get consolidated onto the remaining nodes?
No. So like I said, we enable sticky sessions. So the VM that the person's actually routed to has that session sitting in memory. And when you scale out new servers, nothing gets copied across to them, except for just like we hook them up to a network disk. But what we do to enable the sticky sessions is we drop a cookie on the machine, so they always get routed back to that same machine. Same thing like with the traffic routing, that's how we get people moving off to a tier and making sure that they keep going back to that one so they're not sending back information that the production application doesn't know about. We drop a cookie on the machine and it reroutes them over to a different instance. Yeah.
That means you can have like the servers overloaded because it allows the extension from the same server. You have more servers available, the other servers that are not going.
Yeah. Yeah. So that depends on you as an application developer. Do you want to have the sticky sessions stay enabled, or do you want to build your application in such a way that it's stateless, and then you can go and actually disable sticky sessions and have people just routed round robin across all the different servers? Yeah. Any other questions? I'm not that great of a presenter. Come on. No? All right. I'll be around. I'm sticking around until tomorrow morning, so if you want to find me, I did say that I'd put my sad day, put my email back up just in case you did want to contact me. I wish there was an easier way to do this. There we go. Thank you.